I'm Ed Zackery, Director of the Medina County Veterans Service Office. Welcome to Salute to Service, a show about Medina County and our veterans. What we hope to capture in this program are some of the many achievements, heroic deeds, and sacrifices of our past and present warriors from here in Medina County. We also hope to highlight the many accomplishments that they have continued to make as veterans right here in our community. Again, welcome to Salute to Service. With retired First Sergeant Leon Doutrich from Wadsworth, Ohio, member of Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 1089 down there in Wadsworth. How you doing, Leon?
I'm doing fine. Great day.
How's it feel to be retired?
You have nothing to do, really.
Now, you retired from the service in what?
69.
1969.
Yep.
20 years?
Yep.
What year did you join?
49.
1949.
Yep. So
you spanned almost two or three generations
yes.
there. You went in, probably a lot of World War II veterans.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, one of my platoon sergeants in Fort Benning was in the Bataan Death March.
Really?
He told us some wild stories about his experience.
Now, when you went in 49, we went through the Korean War.
Yep.
You went into the Korean War,
yes.
right?
Yes.
How long was your basic training and all that before?
My basic training was 8 weeks. And then I went to AIT training down in Fort Benning, Georgia. And then the war broke out while I was there.
The Korean War.
Korean War. And I went overseas to Korea with the 3rd Infantry Division. And then I joined the 7th Infantry Division in their tank platoons. And that's where my tanking experience. From then on, that's all I ever did.
And you originally joined the National Guard, right?
That's correct. I joined the 37th in Akron. I was... my training area was Akron, Ohio, the armory that was there.
So when the war started, is that when you went on active duty? And
yeah, I joined in 48, and then in 49 I said, I'm going to join the regular army. So I had joined the regular army about 8 months before the Korean War broke out.
Okay.
So I got just through basic, got through AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training, and then the war broke out.
And how did you come to wind up deploying for Korea?
I was in the 3rd Infantry Division at that time.
Rock of the Marne, right?
Yep, that was it. And rumors were all over the post at Fort Benning that if you were married, they weren't going to deploy you till the last minute. So I went, called my wife, proposed, came home, got married. I went back to Fort Benning, first formation, the first sergeant called my name, and like a dummy, I said, Sergeant, I can't go, I'm married now. And he said, son, if the Army wanted you to have a wife, they would have issued you one. So that was my experience getting started in the military.
And off to Korea you went?
Off to Korea I went.
How long in Korea?
I was there for, probably, I think it was 11 months, and I got relieved by our battalion got relieved by a battalion of National Guardsmen out of New York. Mm-hmm. Of course, then you were on a point system, right. And I had accumulated enough, so I came back to the States.
So they were just revolving?
Just changing units as they did, that's what they're doing right now.
So you were a tanker in the 3rd Infantry?
Yes.
What kind of tanks?
It was an M48A1. It was a World War II tank. It was I tell you what, that's the only tank I ever had and worked in that you could just run. It was like the M1 rifle. You could throw it in mud. You could, and it
wouldn't break.
Wouldn't break. It always worked.
Wow.
No wonder they won the Second World War with it.
So when you came back out of Korea, I mean, you went over there. A lot of World War II guys, I assume, went with you.
Yes. My platoon went, and my platoon sergeant at the time was a Sergeant Black, and he was in the Bataan Death March, and he used to sit down and on the footlockers with a cup of coffee and tell us all about World War II and what was, because we were all young guys, and we looked up to these guys because they had the experience and we didn't, so we learned well from them.
And when you came back from Korea, where'd you go?
I went to Fort Knox. Every time I went overseas, I spent 10 years overseas, 10 years stateside, and I always went back to Fort Knox. I taught at the Armor School for a while, but I always went back into the Armor School somehow, some way. And it was always in Kentucky, so it was close to home, and the kids liked it. And
Did you ever get any of that gold they got down there?
no, you couldn't get. I couldn't get close to it.
Now, Fort Knox has still got the Patton Museum down there, correct?
Yes, they have. It's a different museum now. It's a museum of excellence.
Okay.
All the equipment that was around the museum, and that's all in Fort Benning, Georgia now. They moved the Armor School to Fort Benning, and that's a lot of guys. I know I did. I hated it at first, but if you think about it, they fight together. They should train together.
Right.
So that's
everything in the military is now joint this and joint that. So
I mean, when they send a brigade out, it have everything.
Everything's tasked, organized over and stuff. There's no more separation between the armor and the infantry. A whole lot. So.
It's a combined armed force, is what it is, which is great.
You know, with the guys, with that said, with the armor moving there, a lot of armor guys were upset. But there were also a lot of infantry guys upset that the armor guys were coming down into their territory.
Yeah.
It was a turf war there for a while.
Yeah, I went back for a 23rd Infantry Division memorial exercise in August, and we drove. Mary, because she can't travel too good now. She has ALS, so we travel in the car. We can get out every half hour. But I stopped at the main gate, and I asked the guy, it was a civilian, I said, where's the armor school? He said, just go down this road and it's out in the back. They didn't like it.
They didn't like it, yeah. They'll get used to it, though.
Yeah, right.
We know the infantry. So when you came home from Korea, you spent some time at Knox, and then, a couple years go by, we got Vietnam rolling around.
Yeah.
And was there a lot of guys still left when Vietnam was starting to kick off from World War II or from the Korean War, or had most of them gotten out?
Well, we were still guys. There were still guys from World War II. I was in Germany when Vietnam broke out, and I wanted to volunteer to go over with the other ones that were doing instructions and all that.
Right.
Of course, the family says no way on that. So they were picking and choosing guys to go to Vietnam, and armor. I don't know why, but armor was high on their list, and it was just a terrible place to put tanks. So,
right.
But when I came back to the States, I wasn't here 6 months, and they sent me to Vietnam.
Wow. So where were you? You wound up going over to Germany then between?
Yeah, between Korea and Vietnam, I spent 5 years, 6 years in Germany.
Where at in Germany?
We were in Frankfurt. And,
okay.
Yeah, and a great place, great city.
Did you ever make it to Sachsenhausen, drink some beer up there?
Oh, I tell you what, that and pizza. That's the
There you
first
go.
time we got involved with pizza was when we were in Germany, and they had two guys outside the post who made pizza, and it was just great.
Did they have the fold-over pizza like they used to make?
Yep.
Yeah, where they take the pizza and fold it over like a calzone or something.
That's exactly right. That's how they cooked it.
So you spent 5 years in Germany. Any significant things going on there?
Well, I was a operations sergeant in the 3rd Armored Division, and I was there when Mr. Presley came. And
Elvis.
Elvis was there. Yep. And I looked out my window. I saw they told us when he was going to arrive, but that's the first time I saw a major open a door for a private.
Wow.
But he got the thing. But he was a neat guy. He really was. He was in a tank company, and one day the first sergeant sent him out to cut grass, and he asked, I guess, some of the guys, "Don't you have power mowers?" So he went out and bought 15 power mowers.
I'll be darned.
But the first sergeant would lose his sign-out book because people would come into the orderly room
wanting
to see Elvis, and they'd see his signature, rip, out goes his.
I'll be darned. Now, he was stationed in Schaffenburg for a while, too.
Yes.
Because they still, well, I don't know, that's probably all closed now, but I remember when I was over there in the 80s, they had his room where you could still look, and it was like a little museum room.
And they used to put bounties on it. If anybody would capture him, they got a 30-day leave.
Wow.
When we went on maneuvers. And
right.
But he took to the military, and he didn't shirk any duties. He pulled his KP, he pulled his guard duty. Only thing is, he lived in the closest town. He didn't live on post.
It's a different age today, isn't it?
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Different age than today. Now, when you're over there, now I know you met Cretan Abrams.
Oh, yes.
Phenomenal guy, military history there, got a tank named after him. the M1A1 Abrams. Now, did you meet him over there in the 50s when you were over there? Or?
Yeah, it was in 54, 55. He was the 3rd Armored Division commander, and I had the headquarters tank section.
Okay.
He had a tank, and the assistant division commander had a tank. And I was in charge of those 2 tanks, and they would farm us out to the different battalions. We'd do our firing out there and our exercises. But he was a neat guy. During World War II, Patton's son-in-law was captured, and they were within probably 20 miles in one of his pushes, and he sent Creighton Abrams with his battalion to rescue his son-in-law. And he didn't make it halfway there, and he had to come back. It was just too much.
Too much.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's something else with Patton.
And Creighton actually went on, they named a lot of buildings.
Oh, yes.
Over
Yeah,
there,
he became
Abrams,
he went from the 3rd Armored Division, he became the 5th Corps commander. And then from there, he came back to the States and eventually made Chief of Staff of the Army.
Staff, yeah. Now, when you came back to the States after Germany, where did you come back to before you went to Vietnam?
Fort Knox.
And then did you know you were going to Vietnam when you came back from Germany? Or?
Well, there was a stint there between that and Germany, and we went to Panama. I got assigned down there to the 23rd Recon Company. The 23rd was called to duty during the Korean War, and there was just 2 units of them, MP Company and our Recon Company. And that was great duty. I enjoyed that, and so did the family. It was
probably a lot warmer than Germany. Huh?
Oh, gosh. I tell you what, I had to change uniforms twice a day because the sweat would just be something else.
Now, when you were in Germany, Checkpoint Charlie wasn't set up. All that wasn't up yet, the wall or none of that.
Nope. You could still run around the border. You couldn't cross it, but you could still run around it. We all knew, there was a line there. But when I was there the last time, my wife came up from Frankfurt to, I can't think of the name of the training area up there.
Was it Hohensfeld or?
No, it was
Wildflicken?
Wildflicken. And I told her, if you have any trouble with any kind of directions, stop and ask somebody. And she came back. She was supposed to be there at 5 o'clock. She didn't get back till midnight. I said, "Where have you been?" She said, "Well, I saw this big sign that says you're now entering the Soviet zone." And the MPs pulled her off and kept her for a couple hours, but they sent her back. But yeah, then that time it was really tough.
No, you weren't there when the wall went up, were you?
I was there.
61 or?
I was there with my son. He was in Hohensfeld, and I was there when the wall went up.
Okay.
And I was there too when Sputnik went across. I could hear him. You could hear it on your TV set.
Really?
Yeah. They tracked it all the way from Russia across Germany.
Wow. And that was a big deal back then. I mean,
well, I tell you what, that was a sensation, knowing there's something up there and it's Russian and we don't have anything to.
And today we don't know what's up there. There's so much junk up there.
There's junk all over the place.
Yeah, we have no idea what's up there.
Yeah.
So, favorite memory of Germany?
I think, I've been a historian all my life. The only thing I got an A in was history in high school. Everything else was D's. And everybody told me that's what you get for, working on one subject.
Right.
But I knew about Creighton Abrams. I knew about Patton. I read about everything that Patton had and what Creighton Abrams, and it was just a thrill because as a tanker, he's the ultimate after Patton,
right. Right.
And I just enjoyed being around him. And he was just a nice. He was a general, but he still had a heart. And he would bring his tank crew up. And we would sit around with coffee and we'd be talking about maybe going out on the firing range, wanting to know what we were going to score because he wanted to make bets with the battalion commanders. Right. But that was it. That of course, we went to Dachau. We went to that concentration camp, and that, it was just so sad to see that and see what happened.
And that was only 10 years.
Oh yeah,
years after
yeah. It was unbelievable, and all the cars in the parking lot were either armed forces or other countries. There was no German license plates in the place, but that was the kids didn't really understand that, but they did. They know now what they saw, but that was that was really horrific.
I had gone to Dachau in the 90s when I was stationed over there, and me and my wife went, and then about a year later, my brother came over, and he wanted to go. And I dropped him off, and he said, "Aren't you going to go in?" I said, "You don't need to go twice."
No.
It's just something that, I mean, it's not a tourist attraction.
No, it's not.
It's a memorial, and it's a memorial that's hard to take more than once.
Well, that's what I told my kids. This is history.
It is.
I will never get to see it again,
Yeah.
so that's why I want to come in and see it.
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to talk about tanks in Vietnam and see where we go from there, okay? Thank you.
Welcome home, man.
I never thought I would need it.
It happened unexpectedly.
My family needed me.
I didn't know where to turn.
My parents needed help.
Where do I go if this happens to me again?
How do I navigate the resources?
Is there anyone who helps with that?
I am strong.
I am willing.
I am confident. I
call
call 211.
A free community service that connects you with information about social, health, and government resources specific to Medina County. Call 211 for the info you need 24 hours a day.
211 met my needs.
211 helped my parents.
211 showed me the way.
I called 211.
Welcome back to Salute to Service. So Leon, we're on our way to Vietnam
Okay?
as a tanker.
Yes.
And
Well, I was on way to Vietnam as a military policeman.
Okay.
I was a military policeman in the 3rd Infantry Division.
okay,
We got off the boat, it was just one long line, and it was the first sergeant walking down the line saying, "You 4 are infantry, you 4 are artillery, and you 3 guys are going to the tanks." And I said, "Sergeant, I'm an MP." And again, like a dummy, he said, "Son, you were an MP. Now you're a tank driver." So that's how I got into armor.
so were you working on a tank in Korea?
Yes, I was in the tank in Korea, yeah.
Okay, as an MP.
No, I was as a tanker there, but when
Oh,
I came
okay.
back to the States, I was assigned to the 3rd Infantry Division, Fort Benning,
Oh, as an
Georgia.
MP.
As an MP.
So you went back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so you get to Vietnam and all of a sudden you're back to being on a tank, which is probably a
Yep.
good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tankers like their tanks, I know that.
This don't stop anything.
But, when we think of Vietnam, we don't think about tanks, at least most of us don't.
No.
I mean, you don't see it in the movies. Most of it's, a platoon or a squad beating the bush in the jungle.
Yep.
And we go, well, where would you use a tank at?
Yeah.
So where were you guys stationed that you had
Well,
tanks over
we
there?
were stationed in Pleiku, and what we did is we ran convoys to the coast as guards and security for the convoys. They would load up at the coast with supplies, and we'd escort them back. While I was there, we were always in fire bases,
Okay.
surrounded by barbed wire, mines, and everything else. In the daytime, we owned the country. At night, the VC owned it. But when I got to our fire base, I noticed that on one of the mountains, really high up, there were little white things, and I could just barely pick them up with my binoculars. So I asked one of the mountain yards, that's the local people, "What is that?" And he said, "That's where the last French unit was annihilated, right there." And when you saw "We Are Brothers," I can't think of the name of the movie now. We were soldiers, but
Oh,
young.
we were soldiers.
We were
young, yeah.
That first scene, that was where that was taken, was up on that mountain.
So what was how far away from you were that?
It was about 5 miles.
That's a pretty eerie feeling, though.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because they always owned the mountains. We didn't own. We never went up
It was
there.
all jungle.
Yep.
Well, obviously with the tanks, I mean, tanks are designed for open terrain.
Yep.
You know, the fields of Europe, the deserts of
Yes,
of
yes.
Afghanistan. So you operate mostly on roads, I assume, over in Vietnam, right?
But every once in a while, they would assign you a mission like search and destroy, and we'd move the tanks and the APCs, that's the armored personnel carriers. But I had a hard time finding my tanks when we were moving in the jungle area, so I sent back to my wife, and she fixed red pennants like the cavalry used to have.
Okay, yeah.
Fasten them to our antennas, and then I could see them. I know where the heck they
I'll
were
be
at.
darned.
But other than that, you just talked to them on the radio. You had no idea where they were
Now,
at.
how was the terrain as far as maneuvering, though? As far
It-
as would you sink? Or
Yes.
Get stuck and.
Yes, half of my time was pulling other tanks out of the mud. You just couldn't get off the roads.
Yeah.
Plus, it was a very dangerous thing to be off the roads because of the noise of the tank. You couldn't hear anything. And what the VC would do, they used to dig spider holes. It would be about 5.5 feet deep, and they could put a little hatch roof on it. But when the tanks came, they would come over them, and then they would come up and shoot the commander or the loader. So we lost a lot of guys that way. And then finally they said, okay, that's it. Only in emergencies will you go off the road. So that's how we did. We ran the roads.
So how long did you spend over in Vietnam?
I was there a year.
Now, were your leaders over there World War II veterans, Korean veterans, or
It's a little bit of everything.
a little bit
Yep,
of everything?
Yep.
Because I find it interesting. When we talk about the Vietnam War, you always hear, World War II vets versus Vietnam veterans, and some of the problems when they came back and amongst the various groups. But when you think about the beginning of that war, I would imagine a lot of those platoon sergeants, first sergeants, commanders were World War II veterans.
Right, and they fought the Japanese in the jungles, and they helped us understand what jungle warfare was like. That saved a lot of our lives.
Right.
But that was the big thing, was their experience in World War II helped us in Vietnam.
Now, you came back from Vietnam. Where'd you go after that?
I went to Fort Knox.
Again?
Again. I was there for probably 10 weeks, and I got orders to go back to Germany. So I said, okay, because I was about 6 months out from retiring. So I
Okay.
went to Germany. I just got settled, sent for my family, and I get orders to go to Vietnam. And I said, 2 wars is enough for me, guys. The law of averages is going
They
to
wanted
catch
to
up
send
with
you
me.
back to Vietnam.
That's right. So then I retired.
Did you wind up going back to Germany, though, or no?
I was in Germany when I got
okay.
those orders.
Where'd you go back the second time to?
I was in Heidelberg.
Okay.
I was in Heidelberg, which is south of Frankfurt.
Yep.
Black
I know
Forest.
Got yeah, it's beautiful. The castle they light on
yeah.
fire there and
Oh,
stuff. Yeah,
it's absolutely wonderful.
it's a nice place.
And so I retired. But like I was telling you before, my kids just went ballistic when I retired, because back then in the military, every 3 years you moved. I don't care what you were doing, but every 3
Yep.
years they moved.
Got some
you.
different scenery.
That's right. And the kids loved the traveling.
So you retired. You came home. Wife, how many children?
I had 5, came home in Akron. I was renting a house, went down to an employment agency, and I said, I filled out all the papers, and she said, and what I put down for wanted to do, I wanted to work from 9 to 5, no night duty and no weekends.
And not get dirty, right?
Right. And she said, sir, this is going to take a long time. She says, you go home and we'll call you. I walked in the door and the phone rang, and he said, there's a bank interested in you. So I went over to First National Bank then. They wanted me to repo cars. They said, if you could run a tank company, you can dang sure repo cars. I said,
There
yes,
you go.
I can do that.
And you got the size for it, too.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
I never had anybody say, no, you can't do that.
So how long have you been married now?
I've been married 63 years.
63 years.
Yeah.
And
And-
she put up with 20 of those in the military with you.
Yep, she sure did.
It's not
She was-
easy, is it?
The only place she didn't go was when I went to Korea and Vietnam. But she had a lot of responsibilities. As you well know, when we're gone, they have to run the family. And
I'd say it's tougher being an Army wife than it is being a
oh
soldier.
yes,
something.
oh absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think they got it tougher. Now you were recently awarded a very prestigious award by the governor here in Ohio.
Yes.
The Ohio Accommodation Medal.
Yes.
What was that about?
I spent 11 years, when I got back to Sharon Center, I got a letter from the commanding general at Fort Knox, inviting me to join his retiree council. So I joined in 2004, and what they do is they have Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana, I can't think of the other one, Illinois. And our job was to inform the retirees of the things that they can get done at Knox. Okay. If they have any problems and they want to go to Fort Knox, they're always welcome down there. And then every year in October, early November, and then I help run the Retiree Appreciation Day. Wow. And I did that for 11 years. And
only 5 people have ever received that before in the state of Ohio.
Yes, that's what I understand. It was a complete surprise to me.
Well, congratulations on that.
I thank you very much. Sergeant Major Newell is the one that instigated it. I had no idea he was going to do that. Wow. But he was the NCOIC of the Ohio contingent to the Retiree Council.
So you're still pretty busy with the VFW down there and everything you do with veterans.
Yeah. I'm the adjutant of the post. I'm the chaplain for the Honor Guard. And that, to me, is the most satisfying duty I have ever had in my life.
Go down to Redmond Cemetery, Ohio Western Reserve.
Right, and do the military honors for these veterans. It's something that every one of them earned, and they should have it. And I've been at funerals where there was no one there but the funeral director, and I've been to funerals where there were 350 people.
You never know.
No, you
never know.
No, you
but
don't.
they all deserve the same.
Absolutely.
Those honors are important.
Yes, they are. They really are.
Whether there's someone there to see them other than the veteran who's deceased.
At least we're there.
Right.
That's it. At least we're there.
Right.
A lot of times, I was at one funeral, and there was a little girl, probably 3 years old, maybe 3.5. And when she came into the shelter, she saw me naturally, and of course I stand out a little bit. And all during the ceremony, she just stood there and watched me. And when the ceremony was all over, I saw her. She just came running, and I just picked her up,
give her a hug,
and give her a hug. And she said, "You look like my daddy." I said, "Thank you, my dear." But there's some nice experiences out there. We've had generals from the Pentagon whose fathers
come out there.
World War II came out, give us medals from their units in the Pentagon. So it is really a great duty, I think.
Any regrets in your time in service?
None, not one.
Do it all over again, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. I'd step up and raise my hand again any time.
There you go. I want to thank Leon for coming out, former First Sergeant, retired from the United States Army, fellow First Sergeant, I should say. I want to thank you for coming out today and sharing your story with us.
Hey, great. Appreciate it. I do.
I
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
On good days or on bad days, Medina County Office for Older Adults is a place where you can go and it's okay to be yourself. My life was topsy-turvy, and I look upon the day I joined Medina County Office for Older Adults as a day when I did a cartwheel and I landed on my feet.